I love this season. I love Lent. I love this awakening. And our title today is Renewing Our Lives. Now, you might remember that as we started this Lenten journey, I asked you to make a commitment to hold the highest truth, not with every thought, but to give some attention to lifting up to the highest truth. So it wasn't so much what we gave up for Lent as what we took up. And in that, we examined how faith is an important part of that journey. Where are we placing our faith? We also looked at forgiveness and how important forgiveness is as we navigate this spiritual journey. And here we've arrived at this important time, and all the way through Lent, I invited you to develop a deeper, personal relationship with God. One where you can identify God as a near and dear friend. We go to our friends all the time for help. And if we have God in a friendship relationship with us, then we turn to God and receive that support and sustenance and guidance. One of the best friends you ever have. So that's renewing our lives, and that's our Lenten journey, to come to this moment where we recognize our Christ consciousness. Now, let's look at the wisdom of Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, from his book, Keep a True Lent. Every time we rise to the realization of the eternal indwelling life, making union with the Father mind, the resurrection of Jesus takes place within us. It's miraculous. All we need to do is turn to God. All we need to do is awaken God's presence now. And each time we have that connection, the light's there. And we have an awakening of that deep connection. So resurrection doesn't happen once, but happens over and over and over again. Now, the story of Easter is about Jesus and his resurrection, a one-time event in the Bible. But we in Unity use the Bible as a significant part of our journey, but we look at it metaphysically. So in the Bible, this is seen over and over again. This is John chapter 11:25. I am the resurrection and the life. Let's say that together. I am the resurrection and the life. Now, metaphysically, resurrection is that awakening our Christ consciousness. I am one with my Christ consciousness and the life. It's a significant shift of awakening of how important this journey of what Easter means to us. An awakening of the light. Now, our master teacher Jesus said, my way is easy. My burden is light. Well, light doesn't weigh very much. It's easy to carry the light around. It's a little more difficult to carry the darkness around. Let's look at this wisdom from Reverend Joy Weiler. Now, this book has guided us through Lent. If you haven't gotten a copy of this yet, it's on the welcome table. I think there's 4 copies left. It is wonderful wisdom. Release and Renew 2022. And Reverend Joy Weiler wrote the passage for Easter today. And here she says, nature celebrates a season of resurrection and new life whenever the temperatures rise and the rains fall. The butterfly leaves its earth-bound self in the cocoon and takes wing as a new being. The barren earth blooms. Life itself in nature and in story is a cycle of renewing transformation. Now, hearkening to that wisdom of Charles Fillmore, where he claimed that every time we rise to the realization of the eternal indwelling Spirit, we connect with that resurrection. Reverend Joy asked this question: do I truly believe there is an indwelling eternal life infusing my being? Do you? That's really the question for Easter, is do I believe I'm one with the Christ consciousness? Do I believe I'm one with the light? Well, this is renewing our lives, and renewing our lives transforms our lives. I love this wisdom. I love Donald Curtis. You may know Donald Curtis also as a very famous actor who was star of film and television for many, many years, and then he got the call to be a Unity minister. And he became ordained and started the Unity Church in Denver quite successfully. And here, from one of his books, he says, Easter is not so much the celebration of a rising of a man from the dead, as it is a recognition that the Christ self is always bursting forth from the tomb. We live and move and have our being in this dimension. And in life, we have so many experiences. Challenge, disappointment, great success, exuberance, wonderful relationships, and heartbreaking diagnosis. When we turn to God in any of those challenging experiences, it's like we roll the rock of the tomb aside. We're no longer held back. We're liberated and free. Now he continues to say, the Christ is always rising out of the limitation, the ignorance, and the apparent darkness of life. That's what the Christ consciousness within us is. The Christ never is dark or sad or disappointed or lacking in any way. The Christ is our light being, always available to us. So that as we live, move, and have our being, we can be Judy Christ, Pat Christ, Ron Christ. We can identify that very nature of our being, freely given to us. If we're alive, we are one with the Christ. Now, you may not call it Christ. You might call it your divine essence, divine identity, your spiritual nature. It doesn't matter what name you give it. The Christ means the anointed one, a light being. And that light being of us doesn't burden us in any way. But any part of our journey that comes up like a 2x4. The challenges, the disappointments, when we're facing those challenges, we may not necessarily be seeing the light in the darkness. But when we move through those periods of challenge and disappointment, we can often look back and see that the experience was filled with blessing. So that each of us sitting here right now, we are ones who have lived through all kinds of experience. You can't avoid it. It's part of being alive. But that Christ's nature of us always rises out of limitation because God is never limited. So if we have a problem, we're facing a problem, a conversation, a challenge, a difficulty, a move, we can center ourselves in God. Focus on the truth of God, of light, of being within us. And then proceed. And then we have a sense experience of the way is a whole lot easier and the burden is light. This is renewing our lives, awakening to the truth that's always true. I love Eric Butterworth, a Unity minister, and has written some very powerful books. He says, Easter says to everyone, no matter what challenges you may be facing in your life, with the right attitude, you can go through them, even grow through them. And no tomb of human despair can hold you back. It's an attitude shift. When we have challenge and difficulty, we're not going to be able to rise out of that challenge and difficulty until we shift our attitude. Oh, I'm locked out. If all I focus on is, poor me, I'm locked out, I don't come up with the solution. If I'm locked out, I need to get the key. Or I need to get something that's going to break the window. We're going to get through somehow. And it's always available to us to awaken. And we can live in the tomb of despair and darkness as long as we want. It's part of nature because some healings take time. Some challenges take time. If you're a gardener, you know that by planting those seeds down into the earth, they don't spring up instantly. And we don't really know if it's going to grow at all. Try planting a bulb. And then don't hold your breath. But have faith. And then the miracle of spring, with a little bit of rain, up comes the hyacinth, the daffodils, the tulips, the tomatoes, whatever we've planted, and much in our own lives as we plant these seeds of I am one with God, then that idea, the seed of God in me, grows, nurtures, and becomes expressed through me. Not making me God, but making me an instrument for God to work through. bringing this talk to a close, I found this anonymous passage that I just love. Perhaps the butterfly is proof that you can go through a great deal of darkness and still become something beautiful. That's our experience. We live, move, and navigate through life, birthing new opportunities, new relationships. And we thrive. We don't just survive. We awaken to the highest truth. And this is why the butterfly is a great metaphor for our awakening. Do you think the caterpillar has any idea what's going to happen to him? I mean, basically, caterpillar's job is pretty magnificent. Eat. Just eat and eat. And then they enclose themselves into a cocoon. And after time, out of that darkness blooms a new life. That's an example for us of how we are stepping into a new life. And so we have a butterfly here that you'll be able to add the flower of your choice to beautify the butterfly as a symbol of our journey, our awakening to this beautiful truth. What beautiful, radiant beings I see before me. If you want to see the beauty, look at each other and see the beauty that exists right here, right now. We are on a magnificent journey, and awakening to the highest truth is that goal. So blessings on this Easter day, and let yourselves fly free. Thank you.
Step out on the water.